Happy Tuesday, everybody, and welcome to String Break Podcast. Today, we're going to be doing a little project. I have a Synyster Gates, brand new guitar. It's actually a pretty decent guitar. It's really nice, but I mean, typically of what we see with some of the newer guitars nowadays, you get some sharp fret ends. This one looks like it has a little bit of fret sprout on the end. The customer also said, as he was dropping it off, he said that he had some high frets or some dead frets in there. So, but for today's purpose, like I said, I actually wanted to do this more often, but it seems like something happens every day in the afternoon hours. So what we want to do today is we're just going to take the Floyd Rose out. We're going to put an FU tone brass block on it. You can see my high-tech FU tone sticker there. So we're going to do that and a set of noiseless black springs in it. So we'll do that. So I think we'll get as far on the podcast because, like I said, I want to keep these kind of short to about 20 minutes, 30 minutes around in there. So I'm going to blast through this, take this out, upgrade it. I can show you how easy it is to put a brass block if that's something that you want to do. Some people don't want to mess with it, and that's cool too. Sometimes it's best just to have somebody else do it. That way they can throw a setup along with it. So yeah, we're going to get started here. This is again a Schcter Synyster Gates. We're going to take the locking nuts off of it first. Just get those out of our way, and then we're going to pop the strings off of it. I've already taken the back plate off. I've kind of set some of this up so I didn't have to bury you with the ugly details of simply removing the back cover. So I just take these off and get them out of the way rather than messing around with them, having them up there when I restring it. I talk about this. Again, we do another podcast called The Guitar Gear Locker with Alex Books of Immolation. The two of us talk a lot about different upgrades and gear nerd kind of stuff. So if you've checked that out before, you can hear Alex sometimes kind of laughs at the way that I set up a guitar with a Floyd Rose in it because I like to pull the Floyd Rose out. Now, hold on just a second. I'm going to get too loud here. You don't necessarily need one of these, but you do this a lot. They do make it a lot faster. I'm just going to loosen up the strings, flip the guitar over, pop the old springs out. I have little things up here to hold everything that I'm taking out so they're not laying loose on the table. And even though I do tend to drop everything on the floor, I think I spend most of my time while setting up guitars looking for things on the floor. But that's just me. I'm going to pop these off. I like to cut the strings just to get them out of my way. I usually cut them like right on the neck side of the nut. Just out of my way, I ball them up. I do the string recycling program, so I have a big box of strings over there. So you'll see me chuck strings over there every once in a while. So pretty easy. We have our nice Floyd Rose, looks like a 1000 with strings on it. So I am at this point just going to get the guitar out of my way and set it on a stand over here. Yeah, and if this is something, I want to try this podcast out as, we've been doing the other one for going on 2 years now, but this one here, I just want to do, little lunchtime things, if you're sitting at your desk eating your lunch or whatever you're doing, taking a lunch break, you wanted to tune in or if you wanted to listen later, these are just like little things. But eventually I would like to get some sort of Now it's hard to see now because it'd be better if there was a camera over top, but my camera's kind of way over there. So it's kind of hard to see. I'll hold things up. But basically, I just want you to see, I'll describe the process and want you to see that this is a very doable job. But again, I mean, it comes with, afterwards, you need a setup. Usually, I take this, and this is kind of a best practice. This is actually something that if you go on FU Tone and Adam Reaver's website or his YouTube videos, he says to do that, to take a picture of it so that way we can see. I'll stand up so we can see the way we're oriented there and the way our saddles are. So the first thing I like to do, and again, some of the stuff I do is just because I'm, just pretty particular or borderline or all the way OCD. I like to take everything out, kind of line everything up just like I take it out. That way it goes right back in the same way. So then I lay it. Right now we're just taking out the saddle screws. And again, if you're just putting a block on, this is something that is very, very doable. I just lay them right in front of me, and then I hunt around for my Allen wrenches. So now I'm pulling the saddles out. Sometimes you can get away with just kind of like the middle four. Sometimes I get lucky and do that. Like if you can imagine, if you're in standard, like the A, D, G, I'm going to lay those right. So making sure that we keep these in line because they are radius with the fretboard. So you don't want to put these back in the wrong place and then have some strings all cattywampus. And yes, that is a technical term, cattywampus. I hope the weather's nicer in the other parts of the world, wherever you're watching, than it is here. It's really cold for the DC area this time of year. Usually, it waits till about Christmas before it starts getting this kind of cold. But I'm also, we need to keep in mind humidity on our guitars. So I operate out of my basement. It's a home-based business, 3-alarm guitar. So I have, my guitar collection in here and the guitars I play. And I also have a lot of customer guitars. There's a lot of wood in a basement sucking the moisture out. So, I have a whole house humidifier going. I also have a portable humidifier going. And it's having a hard time maintaining a decent humidity. All right, so there is, you can see I have this in pieces now. So there's this little guy here, this little plate that goes right underneath. We're pretty much not going to need that on the new application. So we're going to set that. You can see, here's a good, for example here. So I'm going to hold these two up. There's an old block here, new block here. So pretty substantial when you look at the top view. Like that's a big difference in blocks there. So I think it adds a ton more tone, a ton more sustain. I know some of this is hard to define, when you're talking about that. What is tone? What does tone sound like? But they're definitely, so before I became an FU Tone dealer, I had a customer guitar here early on. And I had just bought an EVH Wolfgang Standard. And he brought in a Wolfgang Standard that I think he had sent up to Adam to have done. Hold on just a second. Yep, that's right. I wanted to make sure I had the right block in here. So he had sent it up to Adam to have upgraded. And he said, hey, while you have it there, you just bought the new EV8 standard. Why don't you try to do an AB and see what the stock standard sounds like and compare it to the one that had been upgraded by FU Tone. And there was a distinct difference in the sound, a distinct improvement. You can call it what you want. Everybody, will have their own way to describe it, their own adjectives. I like to say, I felt like it gave the guitar a little more oomph, a little more bottom end, a lot more sustain, and just a little more, I hate to say it, but a little like more balls, a little ballsier sound. We can go with that. Again, technical term, ballsier. So what I'm doing here, put our fine tuner adjustments on there. Oops. And you want to make sure you don't flip it over and launch all of your inserts onto the floor, because then you'll be hunting for those. So there's 3 screws. We took them back out. There is one important thing here. So when you are putting the block on, there is, and I will show you in just a second. Man, it's so much harder to talk and do this at the same time. This is way easier when you're not trying to think of things to say. All right, so we're just going to get this snug. Not going to over tighten it nor strip them out. Nice and snug in there. So we'll take a quick look now. Here's the top of it I just left the one saddle. I could have gotten by with this one here too, because these are the 3 screws we're talking about here. Fill up this in place, but I'd already loosened it. So we look at the back side. And then what I was saying, let's see if we can see it. You really need camera upgrades here. So you can see the FU Tone inscription on this. We want to make sure that is going towards the front of the block, if you will. If you put it in backwards, then it will not hold your springs in there. The springs will just fly out when you put them in, when you put this back in the guitar. So we're going to stick these back in. See, very easy process, like we're almost done already. You've been a lot of help, by the way. Yeah, I know this is kind of cheesy, kind of boring, but again, this is something, if you want to do upgrades yourself, this is very doable. And I think Adam makes it like that. His products, very good. I'm a big fan, as you can tell. I was, before becoming a dealer installer for him, I don't know who was a bigger fan of it, me or my wife, because I upgraded, actually, that, I think you can see it, DeMartini right there, Charvel of DeMartini. And, I put the upgrades on it and, put some colored titanium in it. My wife doesn't play guitar, but she does call that her guitar. So it was actually kind of her that said, hey, you should try to see about being a dealer, because she thought they were, pretty cool products. I like the products. I like the way they sound. I like working with them. They're good people to work with also. All right, we are getting the last one on. Again, you're making sure you keep these in order. So you can stick with the radius, or you're going to drive yourself crazy when you look at it and one string's higher than the other in the wrong place. You may have Your high string being on the six string place, then you'll be looking back like, why does it look like this? So you want to make sure you keep them in the right order so it stays radius. And believe it or not, I'm kind of bringing it on home now. And I'll see what kind of time. Let's see, we're still at like 15 minutes. So you can see, like, even with me running my mouth and doing some extra things, this is pretty simple. Now, this one here, the customer didn't necessarily need to do it, but you can also get the titanium inserts. You can get the screws. They have the fine tuners, all of that kind of stuff. It all looks great. Can kind of set off the way your guitar looks. It all works together as a system of improving the tone. So good stuff. And I mean, believe it or not, that's it. We're done. So we're all back together. And I mean, basically like 16 minutes, and that's me talking. Not bad looking. Let's see. He has black inserts in there with gold. It kind of sets it off. That's some aluminum there. And we'll just set our old parts aside. I tell you what, well, I mean, it seems like I've only like 16 and a half minutes. I'll go 20 minutes maybe. I don't want to bore everybody too long. So we're going to string this guy up real quick. I'll show you my very unorthodox way of stringing up a Floyd Rose. I don't know if anybody else does this. I've heard everything from people string a Floyd Rose one string at a time. I hear some people that say that. Some people, you know, block the Floyd and do it while it's in the guitar. I don't know. I mean, this is easy, like sitting right here in front of me. Keep your tools handy. And then we're just going to string it right in front of us here, where I can keep my eye on it. Not over tightening, but nice and snug. I'm trying to keep my arms back out of the way so people can see. For all, let's see, all 0 of you. Geez, I need to make sure I'm in the camera's field of view also, or the phone view. So I look at 2 different views up there. I have the camera or the phone view, and then what you would see on a computer. So I'm trying to make sure I keep my gigantic head in both screens. Yes, and then trying to make it so you can see what I'm doing. I keep flipping. And these are, as you can see, individually packaged. These are string joys. We are putting Synyster's 1048s, which is their uncoated electric guitar strings. Very good strings. So yeah, when I pop this in to the guitar, I just do the, so we'll just call them E's. We'll pretend we're in E standard. This is not going to be an E standard, but we'll pretend we're there. So the high E and the low E, I usually jack up the bridge just a little bit, the Floyd Rose, just a little bit, put those 2 strings on, and then I can turn the guitar over while holding the Floyd into the, or in the cavity so it doesn't flop out on you. And I pop the strings in at that point. I mean, the strings. So I pop the springs in at that point and get it where I need it. And then I flip it back over and I put the rest of the strings on, or actually connect them, because as you can see, I'll show you after I get done, they will be on this. So you're not kind of fiddling around with the guitar, like trying not, you hear me talk a lot on these things about not wanting to scar up somebody's guitar. Like, I don't want to be the guy that nicks up somebody's guitar. They can, but I don't want to. So this kind of gets me away from the guitar. All the strings are on it. I'm not having to mess around up there with Allen wrenches, all that kind of stuff next to their finish. Then before I put it on, I will take a look at my picture and see if we look like we're in the ballpark. So don't forget, while I'm thinking about it, like and subscribe. If you don't find these useful or entertaining, tell me to stop doing it. Whatever works for you. I did have somebody last week tell me that they think, like, I don't have much of a mustache, but they said I thought I should trim my mustache. But trust me, you need at least a little something to camouflage this big head and face. All right, we're going to look at the picture and compare. And we are just a little high there. Still probably going to have to make some adjustments after I get it, when I'm doing the setup on the guitar and checking for the intonation and things like that. Those actually look pretty good. So I'm pretty happy with that. Let me get everything out of our way again. Get ready for the guitar to come back up. Again, these are, show you what the string joys. These are the 1048s. I guess I could. 1048 string joys. I like string joys a lot. Very, very good strings. I know I said that in the last episode. If you watch that, I'm gonna get all my little string ends off. So, and I'm just gonna take this guy and just tuck him out of our way for a while. Set him over here on my other table, where I wind pickups, and I'm going to evaluate the guitar just a little bit. I know he had some concerns. First thing I'm going to do is check the neck relief. Oh man, a lot of back bow. And you can see I always have one hand that's just guiding whatever tool it is so it doesn't slip. Oh, nice. There's always one guitar maker that likes to make things difficult. So they put their truss rod cover on and then put the string tree on. So, of course, you can't get the truss rod cover out. That's cool. All right, we are going to, this is probably going to be a 4mm. I'm assuming. And maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I am. Oh, I'm not. It's a terrible thing sometimes when you think you're wrong and you just can't be wrong. Actually, I'm wrong most of the time. At least that's what I'm told. All right, so we're still... I'm going to start it with, and that's probably what he was feeling, is there was a lot of back bow in the neck. This does have a dual action or dual truss rod, so I was able to go the other way with it. So now I'm going to just use my straight edge. I can still even feel like there's a high spot in the fretboard right better. Let me see if I can do this without putting my butt in the camera. Do a lot. Very nice. I like that. Yeah, and like I said, he said he had a lot of buzz, and I think that I could feel it when I put the straight edge on it. So, and I talked about this before, trying to stay out of the way. So I talked about this before. I mean, this is an art roller here. So that's kind of my first line of attack for looking for relief on the truss rod. So I can take this and I can feel just by bending it where it is. Right now I can just kind of feel that I'm hitting all of them in the middle. You can kind of feel it if you wiggle it in the middle or if it's rocking in the middle, so to speak. We have a couple high frets. So before, let's see, we're still at 26 minutes. I'll go a couple more minutes. I'm going to go down this with a fret rocker. I use talked about this before, also is a green frog tape. For this application, we won't be taping anything. We will be using it for notes purposes to write down if we have any high fried frets. All right, so at the top we have one that's just a little bit high. Let's see how the rest look. That probably wouldn't affect playability, but it's just a little high. And sometimes, when you tell people you have a high fret, they don't realize that it could be a piece of the fret, not necessarily the entire fret. So, oh geez. Unfortunately, this is the way it is with new guitars, it seems. Not all, but some. But, that's why you take it to somebody that you trust. They can get your frets level for you. And so the microphone is right there. You can probably hear this. So I'm using this, it's a StewMac fret rocker. And all I'm doing is laying the straight edge, if you will, over top of 3 frets and rocking it back and forth to see if one is high. And in this case, we found a few that are high. And you can hear it, I'm pretty sure, in the microphone because it's right next to it. So this is going to require a little work this afternoon before I put the Lloyd back in it. Nice guitar, though. It looks great. I don't know how I feel about the headstock. Whatever. Okay. I'm sure you can hear that. So see, and we are down 15th to 17th fret. So the exact fret I'm looking at is the 16th. So, and this is down where if you were playing in the high register, you would definitely hear this. So you can notice top of the fret, we have nothing. As I go down towards the high side, down by where the bottom string or the E, that is way high down there. And that's definitely something that you would hear if you were fretting out a note. It would either go dead or buzz like crazy on you. So we'll take care of that for him. Jeez. Yep, this is a new guitar, people. Unfortunately, that seems to be the name of the game now. it's actually odd that I see a guitar with perfect frets. Older guitars, yes. The newer guitars, especially in a certain dollar range, they're not always awesome. And even on the fret ends on here, and some of this, and keep in mind, this came in from South Korea. So, I mean, this was something that was built overseas and then, loaded on a boat more than likely, brought over here. So it was in that environment coming across the ocean. Then, it's been in a store, it's moved around a lot. So we don't know when it was built, but there's a lot of fret sprout on here that I'm going to take care of. And some of that, I feel like it's imperative that you take care of these things like high frets, especially for new players. This isn't a new player here, but especially for new players, because remember back to when you started playing guitar. If you had a high fret, or if you had to push down too hard, or if these were cutting your hand up, anything that causes you more discomfort than you have to have, you're not going to want to play as much. So you want to play a comfortably playing guitar. If it's comfortably playing, then you will play more. If you play more, you will get better. So I think that's where we fail a lot is, parents, and I kind of did the same thing. I'll tell my daughter plays guitar also. That fret is good. My daughter plays guitar also. And in closing here, we went to Guitar Center years ago when she was playing, and she was starting with acoustic. So, which, looking back now, it may have been a mistake. I've kind of changed my way of thinking. Maybe it's easier to play. I know there's more things that you have to buy with electrics, but it may be easier to start with an electric because it's easier to push the strings down and fret the strings, and fret the notes. So, but we went out regardless, which I'll try to remember String Joy and something that they're doing to address that with newer players. So we go in and we're looking for this, and it's my little girl, so I want to buy her a Martin, a low end Martin acoustic. I don't want to buy her something cheap because I started out with something cheap. It's what we could afford, and it had super high string height. I hated playing it, and ultimately ended up stopping and doing other things growing up. So my wife comes up to me and she says, "Hey, there's a guitar over there." And I said, "Actually, a Daisy Rocks," which is, they kind of had a cool vibe. I don't know if they're still out. They had a plastic back on it, the plastic round back, like the applauses and those. And but this one looked like a pink, like pink flake bass boat. And I was like, "We don't want to get her that." She goes, "No, you absolutely want to get her this because it's flashy and it's pink and it's sparkly, and and it was okay as a guitar also. Daisy Rocks is not a bad brand. So it kind of worked. So I was thinking one way, I was thinking function, and my wife was thinking of a way to keep my daughter hooked by, it looks pretty and sparkly and I want to play it more. And she did. And she's a great singer and a good guitar player, and it kept her playing. And she has a few guitars also. So that was kind of one strategy. Now I want to talk about this more in another episode. Maybe tomorrow I'll try to jump on for a couple minutes, not quite as long because I'm running long now. Stringjoy has come up with a new line, and I'll go over that more in depth. But it's a line for acoustics, and they are lighter strings. And I've even, like, one of my acoustics, I've gone to playing tens on it. A lot of bluegrass guys with on their nose, they want to play 12s or 13s. Most people, as they approach my age, or even if they're starting out, they put 11s on an acoustic, but they've even dropped down. Stringjoy has dropped down below 10s. I think it's like a 9.5, and it makes perfectly good sense to me because if you have a lower gauge string and you get the guitar set up right and you're a new player, then hopefully it'll be more comfortable for them as they figure things out moving forward. So I'll go over those maybe tomorrow. I've been talking about the Fishman systems. I want to go over some of those. I thought it was cool since I had a few tone block project today to do this live with, let's see, with 0 people watching. Nonetheless, I did it. So I'll keep doing these. Tune in. Hopefully we grow the channel. Be sure to like and subscribe, and have a great Tuesday, and get back to work. Lunch break is over. Thanks for joining. Peace out.